The Survivor Specialist, Phil, John, and McKenna are back with another defining episode. And today we are talking about Tiffany's defining episode ahead of her appearance on Survivor 50. We're going to be talking about Spicy Jeff, which is episode number 9 of Survivor 46. If you listen to our Q episode, that episode came right before this one that was hide and seek. And this episode deals with the fallout. Tiffany's idol, now public knowledge. Tiffany feeling like she was going to go home. And we see Tiffany have to do a little bit of scrambling for the first time in her Survivor game, which I think is really, really interesting because we were having a hard time figuring out what is the defining episode for Tiffany. She gets a lot of screen time in the first 2 episodes, but doesn't feel like she really dominates those episodes. Obviously, the memorable moment with Banu on his knees praying to Tiffany, and Tiffany's like, just get up, dude. I'm not dealing with this. But this really does feel like the right spot because it might not be Tiffany's best gameplay. It shows her kind of falling out of control of the game. Obviously, she's going to go home in the next episode with the idol in her pocket. But we see a lot of good strategic stuff here, and we also see her relying on her relationships a lot. So we're going to dive into Spicy Jeff. What do we all think? Tiffany's anger justified at the beginning of this episode?
Yes, a little bit, but also I feel like you want to just say, it's okay, Q, and keep that avenue open. Now, she and Kenzie close off this avenue, drive him to Maria, and Q was a really good ally for Tiffany, aside from wanting to get Tiffany out, but he was a great ally for her because he brought her into the 6. He picked her over Kenzie, over Banu, over, everybody else on the tribe. And they were really tight on their starting tribe. So I feel like, yes, Q messed up, but do you want to cut that off?
I don't blame Tiffany for her reaction here at all.
Yeah.
She just came from a tribal council in which she found out that her idol was revealed and one of her supposedly closest allies tried to quit the game.
Again.
Right? Like, there's a lot of reason. And we even see and I know we're not talking about hide and seek now, but in hide and seek, as Q is trying to quit the game, Kenzie's like, that's not good for us. Like, what are you doing? And that's where Tiffany's coming from in this. I don't blame her and Kenzie for cutting off Q here. But I do think it's a big learning moment that she can take going into season 50. And that is what's so fascinating about Tiffany coming into this and why this episode, I think, defines her. We see a lot of her emotion come out in this. But we also see what she does with her back up against a wall, which is quite impressive considering everything else that happens in this episode.
Yeah, I think that Tiffany probably won't make the same mistakes this time around that she made the first time, which is why I think so many people have high expectations for Tiffany and her ability to win. I think her closing the door on Q, that's definitely something that she's not going to do in this season. I think she's going to learn and say, no, I got to keep options. I got to keep options. I got to keep options. She's got the game for it. She's got the personality for it. Like, her whole tribe likes her. She gets a little heated at times, but not anything out of control, right? Like, she's heated within reason. I think that her blow up on the tribe, the thing is with this episode, we see 3 different blow ups from Tiffany. We see the blow up from Tiffany right when she gets back from tribal. We see the blow up from her on the mat at the immunity challenge, and we see the blow up from her at that night's tribal council. And it's like, how much of that at the tribal council was an act for show to keep Hunter on his heels, but how much of this also is like sincere, and can Tiffany turn that off when she plays this season? Because you can't just get to the end in 50. And I think when you're coming in as Cirie, you can just get to the end and you can win the game. I think people will give you votes even if you play a terrible game because your name is Cirie, and it's gonna be hard for Cirie to play a bad game. But Tiffany's got to do something big on this season to get the win, especially because I think that out of everybody sitting there, unless she's sitting next to Rizzo and Savannah, who we don't know, unless she's sitting next to those two, like, she's got the least status entering this season, and that's going to be a hard thing for her to overcome, I think, especially if she plays with like the same emotion that she played with on this season and that we see in this episode.
But we do see a lot of people saying Tiffany is the biggest threat out here. Tiffany's the biggest threat out here. Tiffany's the biggest threat out here. Maria and Charlie are sketched out because she does have this power, this allure, this charisma, that, everybody does like her on the tribe, and she has strategy behind her. So Maria and Charlie really want to get her out of the game.
Mhm.
On top of that, this is the episode where Tiff's closest ally wants to turn on her. This is the
Yeah,
episode where
because
Kenzie pushes the vote for Tiffany. And that, I think, is going to be Tiffany's biggest learning experience. What did she learn from this moment? The fact that she did have these very close relationships, but even her closest ally was willing to turn on her because of the power she held.
Mhm.
So how does she take that going into 50 and
Not
make sure
find an
that
idol.
doesn't happen again?
Not
Yeah.
find an idol.
Or not tell anyone about your idol, at least.
And I do want to say, though, I have to commend her gameplay with the idol once everybody found out, because she says, everybody knows I have the idol, so I might as well just play it tonight. And that's her strategy. And that's actually a brilliant strategy, because while everybody is talking about potentially voting her out, she doesn't necessarily know that's happening, but she calls their bluff before they can even go after her sincerely. And it's enough of a threat that they say, well, look, if we shoot at Tiff and we miss, every one of us is in hot water now. If maybe we let Tiff get that out of here and she doesn't play it, and that's why the next episode they say, okay, she's bluffing again, we'll just get rid of her. But I think that this is actually a brilliant strategy, because she's saying everything she's saying is very logical. It's, I am going to play my idol because what good does it do me at this point? It's just putting a target on my back. I'm just going to get rid of it. And that makes the dogs kind of be called off. They have to say, okay, let's go a simpler route and let's try to figure something else out.
Even I was convinced that she was going to play her idol, and then I realized nobody plays an idol.
Yeah, I know. I remember watching it live, though. I thought she was playing.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. But and on top of that, it shows her patience and her willingness to live on that edge, right? Like, the biggest thing that Tiffany does here is she takes that risk, right? That's why she gets voted out with the idol in the next round, is because she's willing to hold on to it. So last episode we talked about Aubrey and how good she does with timing in Go Wrong. That's what Tiffany needs to be learning coming out of this situation, is timing, because I think she approached the game with the right attitude. She wasn't going to flip on her ally until that's it, except for Q. But again, Q kind of instigated that himself by making Tiffany say, let's go after Maria, and breaking up the six in the previous episode. And then in this one, we see that fallout, right? We see that tension. We see Tiffany and Kenzie just go with Ben for the immunity challenge because the opportunity presented itself to distance themselves as far away from Q as possible. And they make that very clear on the mats for the immunity challenge.
Yeah, they just wanted to rock.
They get to pick their teams. Yeah.
They just wanted
to rock. Yeah. They get to pick their teams, and they're like, yeah, we don't want to be with Q. As long as we're not with Q, we don't really care. And then they yell at Q anyway on the mat. Like, it's incredible. It's incredidible. And look, Kenzie gets emotional too, but Kenzie ends up winning the game. So really it just comes down to, like, Tiffany had to go a little bit further. I don't know what the statistic is on this, and I have no idea. Couldn't even guess. But I wonder how much better placing people are when they are blindsided with an idol in their pocket, or like something like that when they come back and play again. Like, does Tiffany have that upward trajectory because she was voted out with an idol in her pocket? So she knows what that feeling is like, and she's going to play a totally different game now coming out here, because she's got to be saying to herself, I could have won this game. Like, I totally blew this.
Just even having the experience of being blindsided, you'll know certain cues at tribal council, we keep saying cues, certain moments.
We got to get off season 46. That's what's up.
Yeah. You'll see certain mannerisms in people where you could probably catch on to it a little bit better. And if you do have an idol, even if you only catch the lesser half of the votes, it's still something that you knew you were getting votes. So now you can play accordingly moving forward as well.
Yeah, John, were you looking that up? I saw your face lighting up.
I was looking it up because I was trying to remember how many people have actually come back after being voted out with idols in their pocket. And I think it's just Aussie, right?
Andrea.
Oh, and yes, Andrea gets voted out in Caramello with the idol, right?
Yeah. And then comes back for Game Changers. True.
Yeah. So it goes both ways, apparently. Sometimes you go out earlier and sometimes you go out later.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much of a sample size.
And you can still get blindsided.
Yeah.
An idol in your pocket again. But
So it's really interesting because I think Tiffany almost plays this game with too much personal emotion sometimes, and I think that's what we saw in this season. Is I think she got too close to people, and we
Making
see that
sure.
even with the Bono vote out, or like the first of the Bono episodes, where Q is suggesting maybe getting Tiffany out instead, right?
Mhm.
Like we see, but Tiffany she emanates this threat level, but she's coming back as the worst placing person
Which
in
is
this season.
kind of crazy watching this episode and knowing that she's probably the most under the radar, and she was the glaring target
Yeah.
here too.
And do you think that Tiffany will be okay playing an under the radar game? Or do you think that Tiffany's going to say, I gotta play up at the top? Because if she's okay playing under the radar early, she's not going anywhere for a while, but she played
Yeah.
this whole season in the spotlight.
I think she definitely needs to go under the radar, pull an Alec Gabler, and just like coast for a while because nobody's going to be looking at her, but they will be looking for her as an ally.
I imagine she spent a lot of time talking to Kenzie in preparation for this season.
I would assume.
Oh, 100%. I mean, they're besties.
Yeah. I would assume. So in this episode, we don't really see much of her relationship with Charlie.
No.
Mhm.
They're on the same starting tribe on this season.
Right. And 50. That's weird.
Yeah. So I was trying to watch for like, what do Charlie and Tiffany do?
They don't.
They don't do anything. It's
Mm-mm.
almost like they're not even on the same season. Obviously, Tiffany's the one with the clock in the finale, and that hurts Charlie. But we really don't see the two of them interact whatsoever on this season.
The only moment in this is when she tells Charlie she's going to play the idol no matter what, right?
Yeah, and she tells it to everybody.
Mhm. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see some of these relationships with people that, you know, have been on the same season, but have they played together? Like, no. So, Tiffany and Charlie are a really interesting duo, and even Q and Charlie for a little bit of it. I know they have had some decent strategy talks, but I feel like they weren't in lockstep with each other. Q felt more of like Maria's ally, and Charlie was also Maria's ally. So it'll be interesting to see how all of the 46ers interact with each other.
Yeah. And then going back to this one though, with this vote that takes place in this episode with the 4-4-1 vote, Tiffany doesn't really get much credit for what she does in this episode either, because a lot of it goes to Kenzie, because Kenzie's ultimately who's going to go on to win the season. But like Tiffany and Kenzie are both integral in leaving Q out of anything and not telling him anything that's going on, right? They're also both integral in making sure that it's a split vote that goes well. This is actually a phenomenal move for all who are involved, but Kenzie seems to take most of the credit for it because she ultimately goes on to win. This is like, if I'm playing this season 50, I'm a little worried about Tiffany being on my tribe or something, that she could pull something off like this, because this is really impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's the fact that despite the tensions towards Q in this episode, despite the fact that you have Liz and Venus who are just like completely done with Q, that even after the tie vote where it's between Hunter and Q, they're still able to get the vote on Hunter to get Hunter out.
Yeah.
Now, part of that might just be the fact that like there's a potential Hunter has an idol here, but ultimately what it comes down to, and I think this is also what speaks so highly of Tiffany in this instance, she can put aside those personal feelings too when it benefits her game. And yes, like we see her getting hot, we see her taking this time and really like pushing Q away, but knows to keep him around still if it's making a better move. And I think that's what it. I think just like the way it's framed in the episode makes it seem less strategic than it really is. And I don't think we credit people enough for letting go of their emotions and making the smart decision when it comes to tribal council.
I mean, and that's huge because we were just talking about that last episode, and that's why Debbie goes home and why Aubrey targets Debbie here. It'll get you got if you don't kind of put away some of your thoughts and feelings and really think about what's the best strategic move for you. And if she is able to do that and maneuver throughout the game and hook up with someone like a Genevieve to be her Kenzie, then like I feel like that could be an unstoppable duo.
I mean, she's on. I mean, for anybody who doesn't want to know starting tribes, we're recording these after we find out the starting tribes. The others we didn't. So I'm just going to keep mentioning them kind of offhand. But on a starting tribe with D, who's another new era winner, on a starting tribe with Camilla.
Yeah.
I think that and really Chrissy, who we're going to be talking about in our next episode, when we dive into, what's the name of that episode? The Past Will Eat You Alive, episode 5, which is the Rourke boot of Survivor Heroes versus Healers versus Hustlers. That's also somebody that I could see Tiffany working with. Like I don't see a lot of people that wouldn't be willing to work with Tiffany. It's just going to be a matter of like what demons and ghosts are going to start coming out for Tiffany as the game progresses. Are there going to be people where she says, oh God, this is problematic? Are there going to be moments where she's going to almost overplay her hand? Or is she going to be able to take a step back and say, look, 46 was just chaos because 46 was just chaos. Like, that's not how Survivor normally is. You have to think, she watches Hunter go home with an idol, then she goes home with an idol. Is she going to be comfortable if she gets an idol in her hand? I think, I always say that if I played Survivor, I got an idol, I'd play it right away. Mm-hmm. I think that Tiffany probably has that mentality coming into Survivor season 50.
Mm.
I have to imagine so, right? I mean, we even saw it.
Tell not a soul.
Mm-hmm.
I just think you have to play them at this point, right? Like, and yeah, Hunter went home, then she went home, then Venus went home, and then Q went home with idols in their pockets as well, right? Like, you have to imagine if Tiffany finds an idol, it's going to be played the first chance she's like even alarmed. I think she's going to be very alert, and she's going to be paying attention for these signs that she might be going home.
Also,
and
just
as soon as she gets
tribal councils.
Yeah.
I would feel paranoid at every turn, so I would just play it because of all the tribal councils I might be going to.
That's also true.
That's true. Yeah. Lots of those. So presumably lots of those. So.
When there's 24 people, that's what happens, huh?
Yeah. Right?
I don't know. So I'm trying to think what else to talk about here. I mean, this is really this is a big Tiffany episode, but
I had said Tiffany. I think CBS put out a poll of like, who do you think's gonna win 50 or something like that. I had put Tiffany on gut because she is the under the radar kind of who's looking at Tiffany to win, and a lot of times that's the returning player winner is like that, like almost hidden and unexpected person to win. Like in Game Changers, Sarah Lucina, like would you have expected her to win based on her Kage-on placement? Probably not. So my gut was Tiffany was going to win. I told when we were talking to Miles for the AU cast assessment, I told him, I was like, I'm really excited for Jenna Lewis and hope she wins, but I think it might be Tiffany. So I'm excited to see with her second chance because she got a lot of learning experience in 46 with what happens here in 50.
Mm-hmm.
My question is, do these returning players notice this trend of the early boot or like early boot female doing so well in returning seasons?
Yeah.
Right? Because you look at, I mean, Tiffany's a lot closer to
and Sarah,
Lucina, Amber.
Yeah,
Harvey.
McKenna said Amber. That's why I was thinking. Harv goes 6th, though. I mean,
yeah.
Out of 20.
She's like, nobody's looking at her as like the winner potential. No, Amber goes like decently far too, but nobody's looking at Amber for winning.
We got McKenna to say that about Parvati. So
I know.
That's a pretty big
I just
deal.
want everybody to highlight that. I just think that Tiffany has a lot of long. Again, I'm probably second guessing, double, whatever. I'm probably saying things that I don't believe all the time. Not that I don't believe them, but like I'm changing my thoughts because I'm doing so many podcasts on this. I think I'm at the point where I officially believe that Tiffany has a lot of longevity potential. But after rewatching this episode and knowing what her threat level coming in is, I don't think she has a lot of winner potential. Mm-hmm. I think that she has to overcome too many obstacles with creating a bigger name for herself to actually win the season. And I think that's going to be too hard to do on this cast.
I think she I think the difference between her and those other returning winners we just discussed, she's a bigger character than all of them.
Yeah, that's also
She's a
true.
much bigger character than all of them. She's coming in with a lot more history, also having 2 cast members on the season as well, and 1 on her starting tribe, supposedly.
Mhm.
So, I think there's a lot Tiffany has to overcome. I just wonder how she approaches it, and that's just what it comes down to. That's what I'm excited about to see her in this game. I wanna see how much she learned, and I think that's kind of the beauty of a returning season, is what did these players learn from their first time?
Yeah.
And can they play a better game? That's why those wins of those previous those returnee winners are impressive, because they have shown that growth period. And I think Tiffany has the potential to do that, but she has a lot more obstacles to overcome.
I
Mhm.
mean, let's see a Parvati Micronesia. She had Penner, she had Ozzy,
Yeah.
and she was an under the radar female. I don't know. We could see Tiffany win.
All right, McKenna. McKenna's fan fiction will air at another time. We are
You'll
going to
watch
be
AU versus the world where
Yeah, that's true. We're going to be going back to old school air quotes with season 35. We're going to be talking about The Past Will Eat You Alive. This is for Chrissy, episode number 5. So make sure you all tune into that one next time, and we'll see you then. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel. Bye.